Extreme abrasion resistance.
More supple, superior knot tying.
Advanced formula, fade resistance.
Less friction, quieter through the guides.
Zero stretch, maximum sensitivity. What is happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. My name is Devin from Debo's Fishing, coming to you on behalf of KastKing today. I want to talk to you today about some braid, in particular the braid that I have switched to and been using over the past couple months. Now, prior to switching to this, I was using the KastKing Super Power braid. It was great. I loved it, affordable, but I wanted to try something new. Now, prior to both of these, I had used a number of the other braids on the market. A lot of the big names out there, some of them I had really good experiences with, some of them awful experiences. So when I first saw it, I was skeptical. It's like, is this getting back into the old DVDs, the ab wars, the 5-minute abs, 6-minute abs is better, and 7-minute abs is even better than that? No, I think there is validity to the information on here, and that's what I'm going to go over. So to do that, we first have to go back a step and talk about Braid Basics 101. Why do anglers use braid? Well, it's more sensitive. Braid is more sensitive because it has zero stretch, or pretty much no stretch. Now, the reason they're able to achieve that is through the materials that they use. Now, a lot of the main manufacturers you'll hear thrown out through other brands are Dyneema or Spectra. They're all the same ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene fiber, a UHMWPF, which essentially means they take a polyethylene plastic, put it through an extrusion process, and get really tiny little fibers of this material. Now, each company kind of uses their own proprietary practice to join those fibers together and make a braid. So kind of similar to the way a spider would make silk. They would extrude it, put that silk together, and make a cord. Now, with the Supercast 9 braid, KastKing uses a reverse spiral winding technology. When you get it in your hands and run it through your fingers, you can feel that it's, more of a round feel. So what does all that information mean for this Supercast 9 braid? Well, to me, braid is so successful is because it falls in between the two main braids that I've used out there. It takes the pros from both of those and has combined them into this line. Now, for me, I've used a couple type of braids out there. This is an old braid off one of my reels from a few years ago. This real limp, no memory. It almost feels like a cotton string type braid. There's that kind, and then on the other end of the spectrum, I don't have any on me, but the braids out there that have a memory, they're often coated in some sort of like fluorocarbon or other material, or they're a composite where they combine different types of material and put it together in a braid. But those braids, you hold them out, they'll literally stay stuck straight out. So a little bit different than this. Now, each of those types of braids have their pros and cons. So when you look at this real limp, no memory braid, it casts really well. It doesn't have any memory. It's just like a string. So you can sling this stuff really far. Also, because it's like a string, it floats really well. There's no other additives on it, no other materials or plastics. It floats really well. Now, when you jump over to this other end, the real stiff stuff, not this, but the other kind over here, we'll say on the far right, it's smooth. If it's one of those that has like a fluorocarbon coating or some other sort of material coating on it, it comes through the guides really well. It's a lot quieter. It doesn't have that, kind of rope sound when you drag it through there. Kind of It casts extremely well. It doesn't knot up. Now that kind of starts to get into the cons of these. Now, because this type of braid over here on the far right usually has some sort of coating on it, to me it's less likely to start to fray and become susceptible to abrasion while it has that coating. Now, no, I say while it has that. So when we start looking at the cons of these two different types of braids, this type of braid is horrible when it comes to backlashes. It knots up. You cannot get the knots out. If you try to pick it out, it starts to unfray and come apart. It's a nightmare. It also means that when it does catch and knot up inside there when you cast, this braid is a whole lot more susceptible to snap. And you know what I'm talking about. You set the hook real hard, the braid digs in a little bit, you throw a real hard cast after that, and the braid breaks. Braid has a real high tensile strength. It's really strong stuff, but it has zero give. It has no shock absorption, so it's really likely to snap. Unlike a mono or a copolymer that stretches, when it comes to a quick stop like that, it's got give to it. It can stretch. Braid's not going to do that. That's why it snaps in situations like that. Now, to me, this type of line is also a lot more susceptible to abrasion and catching on things and ripping and breaking, because it is more of like a, a fibrous clothy type line. Catches on things kind of like, your socks. If it gets caught on Velcro, it kind of tears that material apart. And you can even see kind of there's a piece where it's doing it. Right there, it's kind of coming apart. And you can see those itsy bitsy little strands right there. Those all start to come undone, and that's where it frays and comes apart. Now, the negatives to that real heavy type of braid is that the coating is going to come off of it. If it's coated in, fluorocarbon or whatever, that coating is going to come off, and you're going to be left with, basically just a type of braid like this. Now, you also get less casting distance with that real heavy braid because it's got that coating. So I think that's where the Supercast 9 comes into play. It's combined both of those pros from both of those types of braid. So when you're looking at it, the smoother, rounder outcasts other braids. To me, that 9 strand being put together gives you the feel of having a fluorocarbon coating without actually having a coating that's going to come off. It's got a good round feel. Now, does it come through as completely smooth and quiet as one of those? Maybe not. But that coating is not going to come off. This is going to stay for the life of the braid. Extreme abrasion resistance. I think that again comes into play that these 9 strands wound together really tight, looking like one round cord, is going to be less likely to catch, to fray, to come apart. Like the clothy line, that stuff catches and starts coming apart. So that's where I think the abrasion resistance comes into play here. Now, more supple, superior knot tying. It's not coated in anything, so it is, of course, going to be more supple. And the knots with this have been excellent. Now, I've not had really any problems with knots. That might be more to the type of knot you're using with this, real limp braid, or even the braid over here that's coated. I've not had knot issues, so that's not really been a problem for me on any of the braids I use. Less friction, quieter through the guides. So it gives you that feel of having a coating because it is one round strand. It's going to come through there a little bit easier. Zero stretch, maximum sensitivity. Yeah, it is a braid. It doesn't stretch, and it is really sensitive. So I've had no complaints there. Now, I've been fishing it on my Speed Demon. This is my frogging or real thick vegetation punching setup. 50 pound is what I've been running for this. I try to go as light as I can in the surroundings. If you go with the real heavy 65 pound braid, you're not going to be able to cast it as far. But if I'm using braid, I want to make darn sure that I'm going to be able to get whatever fish I have in there out with this. That's the whole point of the braid. It's strong, it's tough. If you're frogging or deep punching, you're going to be coming through a bunch of muck. And I don't want to have any chances. Now, I don't really concern myself with, I know one of the other good points on here was that it's an advanced formula that's fade resistance. To me, that's not an issue. If you're worried about the fish seeing your line, to me, you should be going over to a copolymer or a fluorocarbon anyway, which is what I do when I'm just running like a jig or a Texas rig. I'm always going to go straight fluorocarbon or copolymer. Now, if you're just worried about you being able to see it, you don't want it to fade. I've been using this for a couple months and the color has held strong, as opposed to something like this. This was a moss green and the color wore off it pretty quick. So I've been really happy with the color retention so far. So overall, those are my thoughts on this line, why I like it. To me, it plays the middle of the road between the two main types of braids out there. I would certainly recommend giving this braid a try. It's a little bit different than the other braids that I've used out there, and that's why I'm really liking it. So let me know, what's the most important feature you look for in a braid when you're braid shopping? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I'm Devin from Debo's Fishing. If you have not already subscribed to the KastKing channel, I would highly recommend doing that for more informative videos like this one. And until next time, keep fishing fun.